It's a curious thing about us humans. We seem absolutely wired for connection, don't we? We really seek it out. I mean, look at us scrolling through social media or, dreaming about that big movie kind of love story. But for so many of us, it feels like when it comes down to it, that really deep, engaged, vulnerable connection, it just feels strangely out of reach. It's like this quiet struggle happening in modern relationships, an invisible barrier almost, holding us back from the very thing we say we want. So today we're doing a deep dive into a concept that I think really speaks to this feeling, love inability. We're going to try and unpack what that actually means. Why does it seem like such a modern thing, a growing thing? And crucially, is there a way forward? Can people grappling with this actually move past it?
That's absolutely right. And our mission here for this deep dive is really to explore that paradox, this strange modern twist on connection. We'll be drawing heavily on insights from the source material, the modern malaise of love inability. And we don't want to get into why. Why, despite this deep-seated longing we have for intimacy, so many people seem to find it harder than ever to truly love and, importantly, be loved in today's world.
Okay, so to really get our heads around love inability, maybe we should start with what it isn't, because I think that's key, right? It's really important to understand this isn't about people not wanting love. That's not it at all. In fact, what the research seems to show is that most people who experience this, they do want deep connection, passionately even. It's not like a cold heart or anything. It's much more complicated than that.
Exactly. Precisely. What love inability really describes isn't the lack of desire. It's the profound difficulty someone has in fully engaging in a close, committed relationship, even when they really want one deep down. And how it shows up is, it's quite revealing. You often see things like consistently avoiding real emotional intimacy, or finding it incredibly hard to actually say what they feel. Sometimes it looks like just constant anxiety, a huge worry about getting hurt, or this deep belief that any relationship is just doomed to fail anyway.
So the desire is there, but it's sort of locked behind, fear, maybe, insecurity. These walls we build up.
That's a great way to put it. Locked behind fear, insecurity, and the walls we've built, often unconsciously, to protect ourselves.
Okay, so if it's not about a lack of desire, but these internal barriers, that really raises the big question, doesn't it? Why? Why do these barriers seem to be getting, higher or more common now? What is it about modern life specifically that's making love feel harder, more elusive?
Yeah, and this is where the source offers some really sharp insights. It lays out 5 key reasons why this love inability seems to be, rising. First off, there's this extreme individualism, our whole me-first culture. Modern society undeniably puts a huge premium on independence, right? Personal freedom, which sounds great, liberating even. But, and here's the catch, real love, deep love, it demands compromise. It requires vulnerability. Sometimes you have to prioritize someone else's needs. And what the source suggests, which I find fascinating, is that our culture doesn't just undervalue compromise, it almost frames it as like a loss of self.
Oh, wow. So it's not just giving something up. It's like you're losing a piece of yourself if you compromise.
That's the feeling it can foster.
Right.
It makes prioritizing another feel almost like betraying your own independence. So that's one big factor.
That reframing is powerful. Okay, so that's individualism. What's next?
Then, number 2, the whole world of digital dating and instant gratification. Dating apps, social media. They connect us in some ways, sure, but they also present this feeling of endless options, a constant menu. And the paradox is, the more choices we feel we have, the harder it actually becomes to commit deeply to just one person.
Right, because why put in the hard work if someone potentially better or easier is just a swipe away?
Exactly. Why invest that deep emotional energy when a new profile, a new possibility, is literally at your fingertips? We're basically being conditioned, you could say.
Yeah.
Trained for instant rewards, quick fixes, not the slow, sometimes difficult, but ultimately rewarding process of building real intimacy.
That makes sense, that kind of learned impatience. Does the source talk about whether that creates a sort of dissatisfaction? Like what we have is never quite good enough because we're always wondering about the next option.
It absolutely touches on that. This constant sense of availability can really chip away at our ability to stay focused and resilient within one relationship. Okay, so the third reason, this one's called the emotional education gap.
Emotional education gap, what does that mean?
It means that, frankly, many of us just never learned healthy ways to give or receive love. Think about it. If you grew up in a home where maybe love felt conditional or distant, maybe even controlling, That early experience becomes your blueprint. It's your wiring. And that makes it incredibly hard to trust intimacy, to trust vulnerability as an adult, because your earliest lessons might have taught you that opening up isn't safe.
So those early experiences really stick with us.
They really do. They shape how we approach closeness decades later.
Okay.
So fourth reason, stress and emotional burnout.
Ah, yes, modern life.
Right. It's fast. It's demanding. You've got work stress, maybe money worries, study, just the constant noise of being online. And often by the end of the day or the week, we find we have very little, emotional energy left over to actually invest in a relationship.
Yeah, I can see that. Love starts to feel like another task on the list, another demand.
Exactly. Instead of something nourishing, it feels like another responsibility. And when you're already depleted, it's hard to lean into it, isn't it?
Definitely. It's hard to embrace it fully when your tank is empty.
Precisely. And then the fifth and final reason the source highlights is unrealistic expectations of perfect love.
Oh, the fairy tale effect?
Totally. Movies, romance novels, perfectly curated Instagram feeds, they all tend to paint love as this effortless, magical thing, always happy, always easy.
But real life isn't like that, is it?
Not at all. Real relationships are messy. They're imperfect. They take consistent effort, patience, forgiveness, repair, all the hard stuff. And this huge gap, this mismatch between the fantasy we see everywhere and the actual reality of relationships. It often leads people to just, bail. To give up too soon when things get tough because it doesn't match the perfect picture they had in mind.
So putting all that together, it paints a picture of this really interesting paradox, which feels like the core of what we're exploring here. We seem to crave connection, maybe more than ever in our disconnected world, but at the same time, we're more afraid of it than ever.
That's exactly it. And what's really striking is how love inability can be seen as almost a specific form of modern loneliness. We desperately want love, but that want is kind of eclipsed by these really powerful underlying fears. Fear of losing control, maybe. Yeah. Fear of getting hurt, definitely. Or just this nagging feeling deep down that we're somehow not enough to be truly loved. It becomes this vicious cycle, wanting it but pushing it away simultaneously.
Wow. That's heavy. So the really crucial question then, the hopeful question is there a way out? Can someone break that pattern, get out of that emotional prison they've built? And thankfully, the answer seems to be yes, but, and it's a big but. The source is clear that the work, the path forward, it really has to start with ourselves.
Absolutely. And the source material does offer some very practical, actionable steps for anyone listening who resonates with this.
Yeah.
First step, know yourself. Yeah. Really understand you.
Okay, know yourself. What does that look like practically?
It means digging into things like your attachment style. That sort of unconscious blueprint you have for relating to others. Are you typically anxious in relationships? Do you tend to avoid closeness? Or are you more secure? The research really emphasizes how much this internal framework dictates our comfort level, or lack thereof, with intimacy.
Okay, understanding attachment style. That sounds foundational, but how do you do that? Especially if maybe you've been avoiding looking inward for a while.
Well, it often involves some honest self-reflection. Maybe journaling could help. Or even talking to a therapist or counselor to help uncover those early patterns and how they play out now. Once you have a bit more of that self-awareness, the second step is to practice real communication.
Real communication, not just talking, but...
Right. It's about learning to share your actual feelings, your needs, honestly, even when it feels really uncomfortable or makes you feel vulnerable. That's how you build genuine connection, genuine bridges between people.
Practicing that sounds simple, but I imagine for someone struggling with this love inability, that uncomfortable part is like the whole mountain they have to climb. What's the advice for starting that without just shutting down?
That's a great point. The source suggests starting small. Maybe not with the biggest, scariest emotion right away. Perhaps practice with a trusted friend first. Or even just expressing a simple need or boundary rather than a huge, complex feeling. The idea is to build that communication muscle gradually, step by step.
Okay, build the muscle. Got it. What's next?
The third step is crucial. Accept imperfection. We have to really internalize that real relationships involve work. They take patience. They require forgiveness for the other person and for yourself. They are not the seamless, effortless fairy tales we sometimes wish they were. They're human. And accepting that reality, the messiness and the effort, is absolutely key.
Letting go of the Hollywood version.
Exactly. And finally, the fourth step is to actively build emotional safety. This means setting healthy boundaries, knowing your limits, and communicating them. It also means working on cultivating trust. Trust in your own judgment, and learning to trust others appropriately. The goal is to make intimacy feel less like a terrifying threat and more like, well, a safe harbor.
Know yourself, practice real communication, accept imperfection, build emotional safety. Okay, so as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, the big takeaway seems to be that love inability, it's not some like permanent character flaw, right? It's not a life sentence. It really does sound like a product of our specific time and place, shaped by culture, by technology, by how we were raised. It reflects the world we're living in.
Absolutely. It's shaped by our context. But, and this is the hopeful part, with awareness, with that consistent self-reflection, and importantly, with practice, we absolutely can start to dismantle those barriers. We can relearn what it truly means to give and receive love genuinely. It's about consciously choosing again and again to engage with vulnerability not as a weakness, but as a strength, taking those thoughtful steps.
It's about agency then. We're not just victims of these trends.
We have agency. It takes work, yes, but change is possible.
Okay, so after exploring all of this today, maybe here's something for you, the listener, to think about, a question to just sort of mull over. When was the last time you really, truly let yourself be vulnerable enough to love? Without holding back, without all the reservations and the fear of what might happen, just fully, openly love.